as I went on, progressing, and I spent, I should say that I spent the latter half of my career with Shell International. Uh, I think I represent a dichotomy that's very real in the oil and gas industry, and that's individuals that care deeply about the environment, but yet we're working in that industry. I was not alone. There were many, many people, and I look back at things that I wrote and things that I said and recorded 25 years ago, talking about the need to balance what we were doing with more renewable energy. The oil and gas industry is not monolithic. It's not only full of people who are, resistant to change, and there's reasons for resistance. But people who wanted to make change and wanted to understand how they could be part of an energy transition. And I kind of explained right at the start that when I got into the oil and gas industry, I didn't know anything about oil or gas or whatever. I built structures. I was so far upstream, I could have been building a dam. It was exciting. I was building structures. They were just fabulous. And if you really explore who is in the oil and gas industry, it's very much like that. There are accountants, there are medics, there are people in planning, there are people in manufacturing, logistics, all the way down the supply chain. And it really is an ecosystem. It's a network of different pathways that are 1, 2, 3, 4 steps removed from, if you want to call it the coal face, let's call it that anyway, but nevertheless reliant on the wealth that is created and shared within communities. And sometimes there are communities that, much as there were communities in Scotland that were built exclusively on coal, and in Northern England and all around the world built on one resource, it's the same in Canada. And so we need to sort of break that down. And where that is most important now is when we're talking about conversations around the just transition.
Right.
Because there are traditional definitions of the just transition, which were, I think it was Polish workers and Polish miners in Silesia for whom this was first coined. And it was very clear that it was based around direct workers whose roles were jeopardized by either market circumstances or government edicts that something was changing, their jobs were disappearing. But it extends much, much further. This idea of who is included in a just transition, it's much probably broader than we can get into today. But it first and foremost is that ecosystem of everybody who makes their living directly from it. But one could argue, and it was argued quite recently in actually a report that came out on 2 days ago by the IPPR, the Institute for Public Policy Research in the UK, where they not only talked about just transition being that ecosystem we talked about, but also internationally having an impact there, and intergenerational too. Let's not forget that when you talk about how you plan for transition, we need to think of the generations ahead.
Yeah.